The old butler said later that the hush in the house had a weight to it that night, the kind of hush that came before storms in the hills above the estate. The long table in the dining hall was set for 14, the silver polished twice, the wine breathing in 3 decanters, and not one of the cousins had touched a glass. They waited for the boss, the way a field waits for a sentence to be spoken over it. He stood at the window with his back to them all, his charcoal jacket buttoned, his hand resting flat on the sill, and he was watching the road. A car had been sent that morning. The car was not back yet. Marco Salveri, the man the city called Don Salveri, and his own people called only Don, had not raised his voice in 9 days. The butler, Cesare, who had served 3 generations of the family and knew the temperature of every silence in the house, did not need to be told what the quiet meant. There had been a meeting in the wood-paneled study 11 days ago that had ended with a chair pushed back too fast. There had been a name written down and folded once. There had been the long phone call to the convent school in the southern hills, and then the long phone call to a small apartment above a bookshop in another country. There had been the dispatch of a quiet driver in a quiet car. The youngest of them was coming home. Cesare moved along the hall with 2 carafes and counted the brothers as he passed. Stefano, the second, was at the sideboard pretending to study a label. Renzo, the third, was rolling and unrolling the cuff of his shirt, as if he had decided his wrist needed punishing. Gianni, the fourth, the one who laughed loudest at every table the family had ever set, was not laughing tonight. He was sitting very straight, both hands flat on the linen, and his eyes were on the door. Cesare, the Don said without turning. How long has it been since she ate at this table? 10 years, Don. 10 years. He said it as if he were lifting a stone to look beneath it. And whose decision was that? Yours, Don. Mine. The hand on the sill did not move. Good. The headlights came up the drive at 8:20. She was small in the doorway of the foyer, a young woman in a plain dark coat, with the reins still on the shoulders, her hair tied back in the simple way she had worn it as a girl. The years had taken the round-faced Cesare remembered from the funeral, and given her a quieter one, watchful, careful with its smiles. She was 27 now. She was Elena Salveri, the only daughter the house had ever produced. And the brothers in the dining hall had not seen her since the day they had put their mother in the ground, and the Don had decided his sister would not bury anything else in this family if he could stop it. She did not run to anyone. She set her bag down. She let Cesare take her coat. She walked into the dining hall on her own feet and stopped at the threshold the way a guest stops, and she waited for her brother to turn around. He did. The Don turned, and the hard line of his mouth softened for half a heartbeat, and the butler saw it and looked at the floor. Sit, the Don said, in the voice he used only with her. She sat at his right hand, the seat that had been empty for 10 years. The cousins began to speak again then, the way a river starts again past a rock. Glasses were lifted. A plate of bread came down the table. Stefano, who had practiced a welcome in his head all afternoon, said it badly and was forgiven for it. Renzo asked her about her flight and listened to the answer the way men listen when they want to remember the sound of a voice. Gianni told a story about a dog he had bought and lost in the same week, and almost made her laugh. The Don watched her eat one olive and set the rest aside. You ate the green ones as a child, he said. Lo, I never liked them, she said. I ate them because you did. The room did not hear that exchange. Cesare did, and Cesare looked at the floor again. Halfway through the soup, the Don set his spoon down and put his palm beside his bread plate the way he did when he was about to begin. The whole table noticed. The whole table went still. There is a man in this room, he said, evenly, who has been carrying a knife behind his teeth for 2 years. I know there is. I do not know which of you it is. I have sent for my sister because there is no one left at this table I am sure of. The silence that came down was the silence Cesare had felt in the hall an hour earlier, sharpened to a point. Elena did not look up from her bowl. She finished her spoonful. She set the spoon down with care. You sent me away when I was 17, she said, so I would not become this. And now you want me to be it for one night. For one night, the Don said. That is all. Then I send you back. She lifted her eyes to him. They were the same dark eyes their mother had had. All right, she said. Cesare withdrew to the sideboard and did not move from it for the rest of the meal. She did not interrogate anyone. She did not lay a trap. She simply ate, and she listened, and she let the table forget she was there. The brothers ate the way brothers always ate around her, performing for the small one, the one they had protected, the one they thought was still 17 behind the eyes. She let them. She watched the carafe pass. She watched Renzo refuse a third pour. She watched Gianni take it instead and laugh too loudly at his own joke, and then check his watch under the table. She watched Stefano, who had practiced his welcome, say nothing else for an hour. She watched her brother, the Don, too, who was watching all three of them. After the plates were cleared, the Don asked her to walk with him in the garden. Cesare brought her a wool shawl. The estate was wet from the day's rain, the gravel dark and silver under the lamps, and the cypresses stood in a long row like patient witnesses. You see something, the Don said quietly. I see 3 brothers who love you, she said. I see one of them is afraid of something he cannot name. I see one of them has not slept. I see one of them is lying. Which? She walked another 5 paces before she answered. Gianni laughs because he is afraid of what his own voice would say if he stopped. Stefano practiced his welcome to me because he could not bear to look at you. Renzo refused the wine because he wants to remember every word that is said tonight. The Don's jaw moved once. Which? He said again. Stefano, she said. I am sorry. The Don did not stop walking, but his hand came up and rested briefly on his sister's shoulder, and Cesare, watching from the lit window of the dining hall, saw the boss the city feared lean his head down once and rest it for the length of a single breath against the side of his sister's hair. Then he straightened. The hand fell. He was the Don again. Why? He asked. He has not laughed at his own jokes since I sat down, Elena said. Stefano always laughs at his own jokes. And when you said there was a knife behind teeth at this table, he reached for his wine with his left hand. He is right-handed. His right hand stayed under the linen. He is not armed. He is sweating. He has been sweating since you said the word sister on the phone last week. Because he knew. Knew what? That you would only call me home if you had run out of people you could trust. And that meant you had begun to suspect him. The Don was quiet for the length of the cypresses. It is not enough, he said. Tell me what to do with it. Nothing tonight, she said. Nothing at this table. He has a wife and 2 girls. Whatever he has done, it has not been done yet, or you would already be dead. Let him leave the table. Let him drive home. In the morning, send Cesare to him with 1 envelope. Inside the envelope, put 1 photograph of you, of the 3 of them, of me at 17. Nothing written, nothing signed. He will know. And then he will come to you. He will come because he loved you first. He will tell you everything before he tells anyone else. You will hold his hand while he does. You will not raise yours. Kohler and the people he was selling me to. You will undo them lawfully, she said. You will let your lawyers ruin them in daylight. Stefano will help you. He will give you the names. He will be the witness no one can buy, because he will have nothing left to sell. And Stefano. After. You will not cast him out, she said. You will set him at the smallest desk in your smallest office, and you will keep him near. His wife and his girls will keep their home. He will live with what he did. That will be the punishment. The family will be whole, because you held it whole. The Don turned to look at her then, for the first time since they had stepped into the garden. The light from the dining hall windows caught the side of his face, and the man Cesare had served for 26 years looked like the boy who had once carried this small sister on his shoulders down the long hall of the old house, before everything became careful. You learned all that, he said, in a foreign country. I learned it from you, she said. Before you sent me away. He looked down at the wet gravel. I sent you away to keep you from becoming this. I know. And you are this anyway. No, she said. I am the part of you that still remembers our mother. That is not the same thing. He did not answer that. He drew her shawl tighter around her shoulders with both hands, the way a brother does, the way a man who has not been allowed to be tender in any room of his own house for a decade does. Stay, he said. Stay 1 week. Then I send you back. I cannot have you in this life. You know I cannot. I know. I would not survive it. I know. They walked the rest of the cypresses in silence and went back inside. The dining hall had emptied. Stefano had gone home to his wife. Renzo had gone to the chapel at the end of the wing, where he went when he could not sleep. Gianni had gone upstairs and Cesare had heard him on the back stair, taking it 2 at a time, the way a man takes a stair when he is finally allowed to cry. They had all sensed it. They had all been spared knowing. In the morning, Cesare took the envelope to a tall white house in the city with a blue door. The way he had been told, he gave it to a man who would not meet his eyes. He came home. By noon, Stefano Salveri was at the gate of the estate, alone, on foot, with rain on his coat, asking to see his brother. The boss the city feared took his second brother into the wood-paneled study and shut the door, and Cesare, who had served 3 generations and knew the weight of every silence, did not need to put his ear to it. He stood in the hall with the carafe and waited. After an hour, the door opened. Stefano came out with his shoulders down and his eyes clear and his hand on his brother's arm. The Don's hand was on his shoulder. Neither of them was looking at the other. Both of them were looking at the same thing, at the small, dark-haired sister sitting on the bench at the end of the hall in her plain coat with her hands folded in her lap, waiting to know she had not undone them after all. She rose when they came toward her. Stefano stopped 2 feet from her. He did not embrace her. He did not have the right. He bent his head once, very low, the bow of a man, asking forgiveness from a sister who had earned it without ever wanting to. Elena, he said. Brother, she answered. The Don stood between them, one hand on each of their shoulders. Cesare set the carafe down because his hands were shaking, and he was not ashamed of it. He had served 3 generations, and he had never seen the Don look like that. The lawyers did their work in daylight, in conference rooms with long tables and patient clocks, the way Elena had said. Names came out 1 at a time. A senator's aide, a shipping clerk, 2 cousins on the mother's side. They were undone the lawful way and the slow way, and the city that feared the Don learned, through the careful telling of careful men, that the Salveri house had survived another season, and that the boss of it had become quieter than before, and harder to read, and somehow at the same time less cold. Elena stayed 8 days. She helped Cesare with the linens. She walked in the garden with Renzo, who told her, finally, about the woman he had not asked to marry. She made Gianni laugh once at his own joke, and he laughed properly, and the sound of it traveled down the hall and into the study where her oldest brother sat at his desk and put down his pen to listen. On the morning she left, the Don walked her to the car himself. He did not send a driver. You will not come back, he said, at the door of the car. Not like this. Not for this. No, you will write. Every week, you will marry a man who is not in our world, and you will have children who will never hear our names spoken in a room they are in. I will try. He held her shoulders. His hand rose, the way a hand rises when it does not know what to do with itself, and he set it for 1 breath against her cheek. You are my sister, he said low, the way he had said sit the night she came home. You are the part of me that still remembers our mother. Cesare will bring you home 1 week every year. To this garden, to this table. No business. No one but the 4 of us. 5, she said. Stefano too. Braga did. He looked at her a long moment. The hand on her cheek did not move. 5, he said. The car drove down the long drive in the gray morning, and the Don stood on the gravel and watched it until it was past the gate and gone. Then he went back inside the house and let Cesare close the door behind him. In the dining hall, the long table was being set for 4. Stefano arrived at 6. The Don, who had not laughed at anyone's joke in 9 days, laughed once that evening, quietly, at something Gianni said about the dog he had bought and lost in the same week. Cesare heard it from the sideboard and did not look up. He had served 3 generations of this family. He had thought the family had ended 10 years ago in a graveyard above the hills. He learned, that night, holding a carafe in his old steady hands, that a family is not what blood you share. A family is what you are willing to call back into the room, and what you are willing to hold whole, even after it has been broken, even after it has tried to break you. The boss the city feared had learned that from his youngest sister. The youngest sister had learned it from him when he was still a boy and she was small enough to ride his shoulders down a long hall. And Cesare, who had served 3 generations, learned it again from the both of them on the night the table was finally full.